16th Town of Rome Board meeting to order. Start with roll call on my left.
Jumati here.
Minter here.
Goman here.
Hasdell here.
We have Chairman Hasdell participating via phone. At this point, I would seek a motion to appoint a chairperson for the remainder of the meeting.
I'll move that we appoint Supervisor Goman as chair for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second.
We've got a second by Supervisor Jumati a motion, and a second by Supervisor Minter to appoint myself, Dan Goman, as chairman for the remainder of the meeting. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Note that Chairman Hasdell affirmed.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving forward, item 3, certify posting of the meeting.
I certify that on Monday, March 13th, 2023, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, March 16th was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 1:10 p.m., posted at Rome Town Hall at 1:15 p.m., at Quick Trip LLC at 3:55 p.m., and at Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, approve the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Minter, second by Jumati to approve the agenda as printed. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hasdell?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 5, Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 6, citizen comments. We have one, so I will read the agenda item here. During the citizen comment period of the agenda, the town board welcomes comments from any town resident, not a member of the town board, on any item not on the agenda. Please know that pursuant to state law, the board cannot engage in conversation with you, but may ask questions. The board may refer an item to staff, a standing committee, or a future board agenda for discussion and action. Each person wishing to speak will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to submit a card to the clerk treasurer providing their name, address, and topic for discussion. The board will also take comment from public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the board begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. So, Chad, would you like to come up and speak?
Thank you. At recent forums, comments were made about the Rome water utility rates from lowering to possibly taking away fire protection. I'm not sure the ones making these comments understand how the water utility rate structure works. Also, I have been told numerous times about Rome Water Utility having the highest rates in Wisconsin. This is not true. As a matter of fact, we are not even in the top 50 in Wisconsin. I'm not sure the board or some certain individuals understand that their statement causes confusion that are not based on facts. When you do this, the staff at the water utility receive nasty comments on written on their bills, phone calls, and I've even seen a court case. I would like for this board to put the utility on the next agenda so we can discuss the rates and how charges are done in Wisconsin.
Thank you, Chad. That microphone.
Yeah, we'll turn that one off then. Magnets in my body, apparently.
Okay. No action contemplated except possible referral to a future agenda. Number 7, information updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Start with Lori.
I have one, and we actually Got this at a meeting last night in the town of Saratoga at their town board meeting, which is actually quite interesting. And it was a request to join for a public presentation at the Marquette County Services Building on Thursday, April 6th in Montello, Wisconsin. It's for advancing the use of nitrate in, hope I pronounce this correctly, neon nicotinoid findings to inform groundwater protection and improvement strategies. Sounds very interesting, actually, because it's being hosted by the Wisconsin Geological and Natural History Survey, Division of Extension, the Central Sands Groundwater County Collaborative, the Extension of UW Wisconsin-Madison, Department of it's DADCAP, Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection, and the College of Natural Resources at UW Stevens Point. And on April 6th, the staff from those different bodies are going to host a rollout of the Central Sands nitrate and, try this again, neon nicotinoid study. The event will present the study results and the groundwater quality resource guide, as well as an overview of how DADCAP and other state agencies are working together to address nitrates contamination of groundwater. And the attendees can attend either in person or via an online web link. We have the flyer here. I think Jamie maybe grabbed a copy too and brought it back, maybe not, but I can leave it here with her and make copies maybe available that can be available here at the town hall. If you're not available to attend, there's also the WebEx link here. And that'll also be available on the Geological Natural History Survey website for a ongoing historical collection of this data. So it's all about nitrates, which is what we often hear more so about phosphates. This has to do with nitrates. So it sounded very interesting. So I'll leave that for Jamie to share with the people. Thank you.
Dan?
A couple of things for tonight. First, the Leicester Library, Friends of the Library, are working to coordinate a shredding event for later this spring into the summer. Check the library and town website for details on that as it comes together. So if you have documents you need shredded, you can bring them to our area for shredding, and it'll be a fundraiser for the Friends and for the library. Secondly, the library is also working with the Master Gardeners and a volunteer who is putting together some benches to go in the back of the library to continue the efforts to update the space back there to make it more amenable to people going outside and reading or just sort of hanging out in the outdoor space behind the library. And then lastly, if anybody is interested, on April 12th, I forget at which hotel, but the meeting of the Joint Finance Committee will be taking place in the Dells. So if you want to make a comment on anything that's being proposed in the state budget, you can make those comments online. I know there's information on the state website on how to do that. Or if you want to go in person, the closest one to us is April 12th down in the Dells. And that's what I have.
Good, thanks. Carl, do you have anything to share?
Yes, I do. March 4th, I signed off on the permit application for the elm treatments for Lake Sherwood. We received notification that we are approved as of this last Tuesday. Treatments will start June 5th and will be completed by June 9th. And I bring this up because this is actually, we're spending $197,000 on this project. This is the largest project that Tri-Lakes or anybody else in this area has done for these lakes for clarity and for cleaning. So this is a major push for us. It's a big foot forward. We'll keep everybody informed as we go along. We also are expecting EOR to do some testing for aeration and water recirculation in some of the bays and channels that have tremendous amounts of algae outside of Sherwood. We're only going to be testing on Camelot and Arrowhead this year. We're going to concentrate on Arrowhead's Marina, because that seems to be one of the worst ones. So I just want to bring that up. That is a huge move forward for us for going after these lakes and getting them back in at least reasonable shape. That's it. Thanks.
Just for clarity for the minutes, would the $197,000 is all funded by Tri-Lakes?
No. Well, I'm sorry. Yes. This one is funded by Tri-Lakes. I don't know what'll happen if it comes back positive, and we believe it will. They tell us we will see improvement. We will apply for grants for the remaining lakes. If that is denied, we will ask the folks, the electors, if they are interested in using funds to continue on with this program following years.
May I ask for clarification?
I think you would ask Dan for,
Oh, may I ask for clarification? Does he mean the electors of Tri-Lakes or the town?
did you hear the question, Chairman? Supervisor Jamadi asked if it was the electors at the Tri-Lakes meeting or the electors of the town that you would be asking.
Tri-Lakes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jamie?
I had a couple. First, at your seats tonight, I did have a flyer about our upcoming strategic plan public listening session. So we'll be distributing this. It is now available on our website. We'll get it on the posting boards and on social media. So that listening session is the night of the town annual meeting, April 18th from 4 to 6 p.m. And you can join us anytime during that meeting. And then if you plan to stay for the annual meeting, you can just hang out and we'll start that at 6 p.m. We will be sharing a slightly updated, revised timeline schedule for strategic plan. We had some conflicts with some of our half-day schedules and just felt like it was really important that all the supervisors could make those half-days. So we'll be sharing that timeline, that revised timeline shortly, and we'll have some flexibility in when those half-days can be so everyone can attend. You may have heard we did have some issue with our bathrooms. We've been having issues off and on with the bathrooms here at Town Hall. Advantage Plumbing did come in last week and took care of that issue, but that meant that they had to take up the floor from the bathrooms to the end of the building, which is through the kitchen and the storage in the community room. So the kitchen looks slightly displaced from where it usually is because of that. We will work to get that corrected. We've had some money set aside to improve the community room. The kitchen items might just come a little bit sooner because since they had to take up the floor, the concrete in there now, it's mismatched. If anyone would like to see it, I'm happy to show it to you, but we're working on getting it. It is cleaned up, but getting it back into shape. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is weight limits. Weight restrictions did go on the roads on Monday. We do follow the same time frame that the county follows, so weight bans, road bans are on and started on Monday. This is mud season. We understand that right now there are some potholes, and that happens every spring with the freeze and thaw of winter. Wisconsin winters are hard on roads. We are working on cold patching. Once we get to a higher temperature, we can go back to the mastic, which is a better quality product. But we just ask that people bear with us now that road bans are on, and we'll work on cold patching until we can switch to the mastic.
That it?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Moving on, item 8, department and committee reports. Is there any questions on those?
I have some, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a number actually for the town administrator this evening, if we could. First one is on the first page, under item 6. Regarding the band shell and pavilion, I'll just hold off on that for the next agenda item at that time. Under item 7, you had a meeting regarding the Lakes TAP grant. If maybe you can just give us an update on that. Tell us maybe where we're at. Are we getting closer to having a community meeting with that then too, as far as, once you do the TAP grant and talking with the community, or do you want to wait once we get to the agenda item, we can talk about it there?
Why don't we talk about it under
Okay.
the agenda item?
And then, getting down to number 8, can you give us an update there? I know that you had told us last time that Cynthia had gone to the White House Ideas meeting. Was there something specific that you had her discuss on the town's behalf? Or something that would affect Adams County, towns?
I think I had mentioned when I had talked about that she was gonna go to the White House, that they
You
wanted.
just said she was there, so I wasn't quite sure what she was doing
Well,
on
that
her.
they wanted a specific focus on the American Rescue Plan Act, because that was a Biden administration. So I gave her the items that we spent our ARPA funds on.
So that's basically just what we spend our ARPA funds on then. Okay,
Yep, I gave her
All
those
right.
projects.
okay,
I mean,
great.
the one that I think that she included in her presentation, because again, there were several of us in Adams County that participated in that, so it could be a share of Mid-State, the county, other municipalities that also received ARPA funds. I think the one that she shared from Rome was the expansion of our gas line.
Okay.
Because that brought infrastructure to a rural area that likely would have not otherwise been able to have that infrastructure supplied.
Okay.
And I
That's
think
great.
that she, Cynthia was one of the very few that was able to talk at, it wasn't at the White House, it was at the building, it's one of the buildings that it is adjacent to the White House. But she was like one of 7 individuals that got to speak that day, so.
That's excellent. Okay, thank you. And then on page 2, if we can go down to, I had a question regarding the veteran banners. Can you just share with us the money that's collected for the sale of those banners? Does it go for something for one of the either the auxiliary or for the Legion? Or does it go for something in the Rome Town Center?
It's 50-50. Half of it goes to the American Legion. It has for the last year and will this year, and the other half goes for purchasing updated decorations for Rome Town Center.
Okay, great, thank you. And when do you expect, under the Timberline Parkway extension, the Class 1 notice will be taken shortly regarding the excavating for the water line installation? When do you anticipate that being posted?
It may have already been done. Brad's handling that, so if he didn't already send it to the newspaper, I'm sure it'll be done early next week.
Okay, and let's see. Last one would be under the wake manipulation devices input survey. It said it was sent to ODC on March 2nd. Property Owners Association and business duplicates are to be renewed. We'll receive 1 postcard mailer. Do not remove duplicates of individual property owners. What is the cost for ODC to do that for us?
I didn't get a response back yet from ODC, so I'm not sure. I will follow up with them by email, but I'm guessing they are probably in a similar boat of most employers. It's just they're working on getting to that one.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we'll find out the cost. And why would we not remove duplicate names of individual property owners?
I think we discussed at town board that it wasn't fair if you did title your properties the same to be removed. If you didn't title your properties the same, then you would get multiple, right? So I title one property in my LLC and another in a different LLC and a third in my name. I'm gonna get 3 postcards and 3 opportunities to participate. But if I title them all in that same LLC, then I only get 1. There's no way to know to control that. So we wouldn't remove duplicate individual property owners.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then the other question that I had regarding this was in the fire department, I just had a question on numbers. If you could clarify, please, or maybe this will have to, I could send a message over to the fire chief. I just had a question on the fire incident list. It shows a count of 8, but on the front page, it shows a count of 3 for EMS. So I'm confused by the count.
Fire EMS February 2022, 3.
23, it shows 3 on the first page. And then on page 2, under their list, it shows a total of 8 for EMS. So maybe we could get clarification as to why there would be a difference. Unless they're dividing them out differently. That would be all I have, thank you.
Well, I show that you're saying the ones that say rescue and EMS standby.
Right, it says rescue or EMS standby, rescue or EMS standby, rescue or EMS standby, medical assist, EMS crew, rescue EMS.
I would assume because some of them are standby and some, but we'll clarify.
Thank you. That's all I have, thank you.
Dan, anything?
I don't have anything.
Carl?
Nothing.
Okay. Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 9, discussion and action, approval of the March 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes. I'll have a copy. Are there any questions? If not, can I get a motion?
Move to approve the March 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes.
Second.
Got a motion by Minter, second by Hasdell to approve the meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Hasdell?
Aye.
Okay. Number 10, discussion and action, checks, vouchers, receipts, and journal entries. Approved checks number 45014 through 45114 totaling $5,139,910.85. Auto payments totaling $944,571.44. State Social Security Medicare withholdings totaling $34,574.01. Payroll vouchers V20061 through V20184 totaling $90,758.58, and checks 21654 totaling $959.67. Receipts number 24298 through 24376 totaling $192,710.20. Are there any questions on any of the checks or vouchers? If not, can I get a motion?
Move to approve the checks, vouchers, and receipts and journal entries as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Minter, a second by Hasdell. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hasdell?
Aye.
Item 11, discussion and possible action. Resolution number 23, approval of application to WisDOT Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP Initiative Grant for development of Phase 1 of the Link to Lakes Trail Project.
Great. So there is a resolution in your packet. I'll invite Lisa Kubish up to the microphone. Just as a reminder, Lisa's the executive director of Visit Rome. She and I have been working very cooperatively. She's been doing the heavy lift, so we're very appreciative of getting this grant submitted for the Link the Lakes project. As a reminder, we've got all of the engineering completed with Jewel and Associates. We have had the conversation here at Town Board about the trail and about the long-term maintenance of that. And also we've had a meeting with the adjacent property owners and some individuals from the Parks and Rec Committee and from the Visit Rome Board. That went very well. I think one of the most common questions that we get is, how much will this cost and how are we going to pay for it? So I think to Supervisor Jamati's question about sort of what comes next, we feel like the TAP grant that we're submitting is very strong. We've asked Lisa's asked them to do a review of it. We have a joint letter of support from the legislature, and we would have this to attach, that we're putting together a very strong grant. And if we would be awarded that, we'd be in charge of the 20% match. Lisa's made some great contacts on public-private partnership that would assist with that 20% match, and we could potentially make this project happen in next year, 2024.
I didn't know if there were any further questions. Jamie summed it up very well.
The only question I would have is regarding, one of the whereas clauses in the resolution said that they've expressed, and I recall this from one of the discussions at one of the meetings, that the property owners that were adjacent to the construction of the tunnel would be talked with, and they've expressed positivity about the project, which is very, very exciting. Have we gotten their agreement, or have we, have anything that, should they change their mind or decide that now all of a sudden they're not in favor of that project, how are we assuring ourselves that it can move forward without a sudden change of heart?
I mean, I guess during the public meeting, they were given Jewel's contact information to ask any questions, or they were made aware that they could ask any questions of the town or Visit Rome. I guess we don't have a plan if someone changes their mind, but just to keep everyone informed and the lines of communication open as best we can.
So the meeting was with you, Jamie, Jewel, and the private property owners?
Correct.
And all property owners where the trail would be directly in front of their property received a packet of information from Jewel, like what the images would look like from their home, what they would see, how much property this would be. There's a very, very, very small amount of property that we would need to acquire. The vast majority of the trail is in public right of way.
Can I ask a question or piggyback off of that? So when you say that there would be a small amount that you'd have to acquire, is the anticipation then to acquire that and not get an easement or something like that?
Yes, Jewel feels strongly about acquiring that property.
That's good to know. So then, as the project moves forward, the conversation will be to acquire that property and negotiate the amount that will be required to get that deed. Thank you.
Were you volunteering?
Happy to help. Certainly happy to help. Just so, it was just a general question I had as Supervisor Jamadi had asked the question. Easement is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yes.
It sounds like what
Where I was going with
what
that.
is anticipated, since there is a small amount of property needed, that it will be acquired by deed, which is even safer.
There's no property tax levy going towards any of this, right?
Not at this time. Other than my involvement and which
Well,
we already have involvement with Visit Rome and supervisors' involvement as we've gone through the planning process, but other than that, no.
yeah, that wasn't the intention early on in the discussions, and I haven't been to a lot of the meetings lately, but I know there's been a lot of folks hard at work on this, so looks like it's coming together nicely.
Let's keep it going forward.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move to approve the resolution supporting the application to WISDOT for the TAP grant and authorize Supervisor Goman to sign in place of Chairman Hasdall, who is not physically present this evening.
Second.
Got a motion by Minter, a second by Jamadi. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hasdall?
All right.
Item number 12, discussion and possible action, approval of resolution number 23, amendment to the general personnel and benefits policy manual, policy number 1.05, acceptance of and request for donations gifts.
So this came up at our previous board meeting about putting some additional parameters around those waiver of fees, or if there was a waiver of fees, that would be accepted as a sponsorship when we're requested for groups to come in to utilize some of our facilities. So this is just some draft language. Attorney Flanagan did notice this kind of dovetails with our next agenda item. I did include in the packet what those fees are for utilizing those town facilities. And in our fee schedule, we noted as a civic / not-for-profit, and maybe we would want to make that adjustment in this language, but I can have Attorney Flanagan speak a little bit more specifically to the draft language that's presented tonight.
Yeah, so first starting there, the reason that I had noticed it, I know at the last meeting, the question I believe Supervisor Goman had made it was regarding those parameters on who would make those requests and how we would kind of process those requests. Certainly this, the language that's proposed to you this evening gives you some, kind of brings it back forward as far as what we adjusted back in 2021, because we did amend this policy back then to set forth some procedures and a policy for processing those requests for donations and gifts. To Supervisor Goman's point last meeting, as I saw it say not-for-profit there, and then looked for at our fee schedule for the next agenda item, I noticed that civic is listed in our fee schedule. Now, Many times, certainly, there is likely going to be a not-for-profit associated with a request, but not always. You do have some community organizations that are not 501c3 organizations or not-for-profit status. An example of that would be Room to Roam is not, but they have asked in the past for a contribution, and certainly they are a strong community organization that do a lot for the community, and so it may be worth considering whether you want to include civic there to allow for those organizations as well to make those requests. Then beyond that, you do see some proposed language. Just a couple points for that. I'll start at the first page. So first, the language or the policy language we did adopt in 2021 allows for the administrator to approve certain requests with a value. One thing that we did add in there was that as those requests come in, they don't always come in with a dollar amount to the request, but how do we know if they are going to meet that threshold without a dollar amount being associated with it? So first, on that first page, you'll see that there's a specific requirement that when they do ask for a monetary donation, that they include a dollar amount being requested. That allows us to process it through this policy, right? And say it's above or below the $175. Then staying in that same paragraph but going to the next page, just some included language that where the administrator does receive it and process it according to the policy, that the board be apprised of that information, and they would be apprised of that information through the summary in the administrator report at the next meeting. Then going down to D, as we had discussed at the last meeting, just to note there that any approved monetary, facility, or staff volunteer donation from the town would be considered a sponsorship for the program or event. I think that was discussed by the board at the last meeting as the intention. I think the last few requests that we've received, in fact, has been part of the motion. This just makes clear that would be the intent by policy.
Well, I guess my only question to the board is, following up on my comments from the last meeting, do we want to further pursue the definition of nonprofit and civic organization?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and I was thinking, along your lines from your comment from the last meeting, I think it was also, was there a need to put anything in regarding a geographic, that the group be benefiting the residents of the town of Rome? If say Heart of Wisconsin is asking for something, how does that, how does it, I think there was a geographic question in there too.
There
Yeah.
was. I highlighted it in our minutes, in fact, I got that, because granted, some businesses belong, some don't belong to the Heart of Wisconsin. I highlighted it in our minutes, and this may cover some things, but I think I'm a little confused too. The minutes reflect that you had felt that the board, and we all agreed and covered it quite ad nauseum, I think, but, and rightly so, felt that the town board needs to set a policy regarding which organization this situation applies to. The motion carried. Then you said, again, under the second one, Supervisor Goldman stated that this is a perfect example of an organization asking for a sponsorship that is not a Town of Rome organization, nor are they located in Adams County, which referred to the Heart of Wisconsin, which is a chamber, because we were talking about gathered by the gazebo, music in the park. So that reflects those organizations that belong to the Heart of Wisconsin, but aren't necessarily, so that brought up those two things. So I don't know that this covers everything that was really in that discussion we had at our last board meeting.
So
Is it policy really, donation and cash donations, facility usage? I think this may cover some of that, but not all of it, so. And does the general public really get the full, transparent, gist of what we're talking about?
So that's fair, understand. The reason that that language isn't new language. That language is what we approved back in 2021. And I appreciate the comment regarding what was discussed at the last meeting, although this being a perfect example doesn't give the direction that you want something changed. And so the reason this comes and the reason I say what I do is because I think that the board needs to give some direction if you want it changed from not-for-profit or civic, or you want it regionally constricted. That's fine. But the reason that I bring that up and the reason that this is before you is to have this conversation if you want to further constrict or set parameters to it. But right now, our policy is reading not-for-profit, and that would be the constriction.
Yeah.
Not-for-profit, so, I mean, it's 501c3, libraries would be not-for-profit, Friends of the Library is probably a not-for-profit, churches are not-for-profit, not 501c3 always,
So if you're gonna include a C6, you're gonna have a chamber in there, right?
yeah. So my point is, not-for-profit is beyond 501c3. There's going to be other not-for-profit organizations. But what I'm hearing, and valid point, but I think to that point, there needs to be more discussion before I would restrict that, because a perfect example, but it still qualifies as not-for-profit. So I think I'm just looking for some direction from the board on what that restriction would be, if any, and I segue to it by saying that your fee schedule, it's a perfect opportunity because your fee schedule says civic / not-for-profit. I don't think that I don't think that restricts it the way that I'm hearing you talk about it, but this is the opportunity to have that conversation. I don't think it's intended necessarily that you just approve this policy. It's really bringing it back, and that's why I said this is the 2021 policy. So let's talk about what that restriction is, if you want to put that in place. That's why it's here.
I think you're correct, Attorney Flanagan. Adding civic into that first sentence, wherever it would fit grammatically appropriately in there, clarifies the type of organization that can apply. A civic organization that's not a 501c3 or one of the other varieties of nonprofit could still apply. But I do think it was also our intention to look at some sort of reasonable geographic connection to the town of Rome, and whether it be Rome residents, Rome businesses, Rome activities, that if they're going to ask us for a donation or a waiver of fee in lieu of a cash donation, that the organization, even as worthy as all those civic organizations are, be able to show, okay, how is this event benefiting the residents of the town of Rome? So I don't know if a line, I mean, it probably needs to be in the language someplace, but then also probably a line on the waiver form about, please describe briefly the benefit to the residents or businesses of the town of Rome from your event.
Yes. So I'm hearing there's two pathways there. So I'll just explain the two pathways I'm hearing, but I think the end of your comment gives me an idea of the pathway that you're looking to travel. Certainly, one pathway is that it could be a civic or not-for-profit community organization that serves the town of Rome, right, which really restricts it. Or the other pathway would be a civic or not-for-profit community organization, and you have that sentence read just the way it does, but say at the end of that, for
The benefit.
for an event, that benefits the town of Rome.
The citizens.
So again, are you restricting the organization, or are you restricting it to an event that benefits the town of Rome? I think at the end of your comment, that second pathway, it benefits the town of Rome with that event.
Yeah, I'd say that it is an accurate, your last statement is an accurate resummarization or restatement of my intent would be that the organization must demonstrate there is a benefit to the citizens or businesses in the town of Rome.
I like that. Dan?
I think the gentleman.
I saw a hand up. Mark, did you have a comment?
The only question I
Can you-
had
Mike, come up,
Microphone, please.
yes, dear.
Thank you. And you have to sign your name too and your address, so we have it on file, yes.
Mark Levesque, Sussex Court. Only question was, rather than trying to anticipate who may or may not file an application for use of facilities, it's kind of a gray area because you don't know who they are. Would it be better to consider it on a case-by-case basis by the board? If and when somebody applies, at that time, the board considers the application, whether it qualifies for exempt, not-for-profit or not.
It's a fair point. But I think by putting the language in there, I think we need the nonprofit civic language in there because we don't want, I don't know, make up a name of a business, you know, John Smith's Auto Repair. Hopefully there's not a John Smith's Auto Repair in this town. You know, we don't want a for-profit business asking us for a donation of facilities or money because they're in the business of making money. You know, the chamber, the dog park, the snow bandits, the Friends of the Library, Visit Rome, they're not in the business of making money. So I think having that language in there would filter out potentially some of the requests that, you know, they could turn the form in and it's like, well, wait, you're a for-profit business. You're wanting to use the band shell to have a music event that's going to sell your widgets. You know, I think I still like the idea of having it in the language and on the form to clarify that this is that there's a specific reason that we collect these canned money to fund these things is that we want to be able to help out those nonprofits and civic organizations with their event, but not help out the for-profits.
Okay, well, in any event, the reason why I drew attention to this at the last meeting was because, especially with the band shell getting built, the facilities we're providing are not getting any cheaper to maintain.
That's right.
And there's a lot of groups that we allow to use them free of charge, and that's fine in the right instances, but if we can get ahead of it, it's probably better.
So why don't we do a second draft of language and we'll bring it back at the next meeting? We'll add it to next agenda items, because we can add a couple of these clarifying pieces to it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Dan brings up some pretty good points, so yeah, go ahead and include those. Dan Mincher.
I didn't say much. we assumed.
Give
Okay,
Supervisor
so no
Goldman the credit.
no action on item 12 then. Item 13, discussion only. Review approved resolution 22-15 revising Town of Rome fee schedule adopted December 1st, 2022.
Just included in your packet as a reminder of what are those fees for use of our facilities. This is the entire fee schedule, so it's more than just the use of the facilities that's included in here, but there is different pricing for the community room here versus the gazebo or the band shell, but the gazebo and the band shell would be the same price. We do charge it after a 4-hour minimum, and there's a different cost if you would be a non-property owner versus property owner.
And given the point that Supervisor Goldman made, looking at, you know, the band shell pavilion rental fees, I mean, we can see that they are similar to what we have for our gazebo rental fees, and we do know that they're gonna be two completely different facilities when the band shell pavilion is done. So I wonder if those fees are going to be really truly in line with what it's gonna cost for us to maintain that facility. As far as the security deposits, as far as renting for the first 4 hours, after the first 4 hours, property versus non-property owner, I just curious if we had seriously want to consider adjusting those fees.
Have we looked at any comparable towns? Are our fees in line with what other places of our size charge for, or things like that?
Yeah, last year we had pulled through the clerk's list a series of municipalities. We are in line. I think last year we had heard a little bit of that, you know, our gazebo is beautiful, but it is also outside, right? So why not just pay to utilize the community room where I know I can hold my event regardless? And we wrapped in the cost for, if you were gonna, we wrapped in the kitchen cost. We used to charge the kitchen cost separately, and we just included that all in, thinking if you were gonna utilize that room. So I think a piece of the fee schedule also helps to incentivize using the gazebo or the band shell to make it a little less expensive than the community room. So you want to use that outdoor space.
Speaking though to, okay, well, again, I'll just extend, speak to the band shell pavilion rental fees and say that with that being a newer facility, being larger, and not knowing, well, maybe we'll just have to wait till it's completed and see what those costs are gonna be when it is finally completed. You know, what it's gonna be to maintain it,
It's not gonna be complete till late in the year, right? So,
Yeah.
for next year, probably for consideration on
We
the
should
fee
look at 'em
schedule,
then.
you review it then. Yep.
Because to keep them similar to the, that's where I was trying to get at. I understand the room and the gazebo. What I was getting at is that the band shell and pavilion should have another look, probably at budget time. You're right, Supervisor Goldman.
The other piece, I think, in that is, you know, the bathrooms at the gazebo are open. They're like park bathrooms during the summer, right? If you're utilizing the splash pad, you'll utilize the gazebo bathrooms there. But I don't know that we would keep the band shell bathrooms open all of the time unless there was an event that was happening there, because
There's no bathrooms there.
there'll be bathrooms in the band shell, yes. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
I thought you said, oh,
Nope.
all right.
There's both a male and female bathroom, yes, at the band shell.
They're in the plan.
Yeah. So the
Okay, good.
piece of that, of some of your cost, right, is the toilet paper and the paper toweling and the custodian that goes and cleans, right? That's a your larger day-to-day operational cost, certainly in the beginning, and as you plan for your capital costs that will come through the building long-term. So,
Excuse me, I'm just very sorry, because I misunderstood when we were at the Christmas planning thing. You had told us that there were no bathrooms. They'd have to use the ones at the gazebo, so I must have misunderstood.
the bathrooms are not insulated, so they would not be able to be used
In the winter time. Thank you
Yes.
for the clarification.
There are bathrooms there, but they are not insulated.
Thank you.
So we'll have to make some nice signs for the band shell bathrooms, pointing people to the gazebo bathroom in case they need to use a bathroom
Oh my
if they're
God.
walking around in the grass.
No.
Or I know what will happen otherwise.
And maybe we make the choice that they're, that they're open to
That was,
a certain time frame every day, but at this point, that's been the bathrooms by the gazebo.
Okay, so I think we've covered this one.
Ad nauseam. Sorry about that.
All right,
Just think we should.
moving forward. Item, where are we at here? 14. Discussion and possible action, update on requests for transfer of reserve Class B liquor license from Town of Saratoga.
So included in your packet was just a brief memo from me. Attorney Flanagan and I did attend the Town of Saratoga board meeting last night. Supervisor Jamadia was also there. I did include in the packet the flow chart that we had put together because we thought it was helpful if we pursue this process, and it's jointly between two boards and two municipalities, that we could use the flow chart to help just orientate all the time on which step we are currently at. And then I included our awarding liquor alcohol licenses. This was approved in 2020 prior to us having our last available liquor license. So I just included that policy back in the packet as a reference. Last night at the Town of Saratoga board, ultimately, after much discussion, the board said that they would like to have a closed session at a future meeting with their board to enter into some negotiation. So we don't at this moment obviously know what will come out of that closed session, but they intend to have a closed session in the future regarding the license.
So when, just to piggyback off that, when They say closed session with negotiation, just a reminder, with a transfer, what there's going to be at issue is going to be the initial issuance fee, and the transferring municipality sets that, can't be less than $10,000. That's part of it. I think the town board expressed that that would be part of that consideration. There was a request, or a question, I guess, it wasn't really a request at that point, regarding if there's anything else that could be asked of the town. I think the response that I and the administrator gave was there would need to be clarity on that, right? I mean, there's a million different things that could be. And so I think that's the other part of it. They anticipate having a closed session on that so they can communicate what, if anything, that might be, so then you all can have a meeting and consider what that request would be, and what your position would be, right? And whether we want to move forward with any transfer request.
The chair also stated that they did want to get some input from their constituents as to what their feelings were on that as well. I was able to attend the meeting last night in support of our local business owners, and I would like to thank the Saratoga Town Board for taking Rome's request under consideration. It's an important decision for both communities, and I do appreciate their time in hearing our request. I do wish, though, that the business owners had been introduced and could have had a chance to have spoken to their interest in that license. But again, I would like to thank the Saratoga Town Board members and their chair for their further consideration in this matter, as it is important to a local business owner and property owner for the future of business that they're taking a lot of time and investment into trying to do in our local community, and it would be great for both of our towns. So thank you to our neighbors, and hopefully there'll be a positive outcome in the future. So thank you to them.
I would just echo Supervisor Giamatti's thank you to Saratoga. They are a very cohesive, working together well board. And they were very gracious to us, and they're incredibly grateful to their staff. It was a really great board meeting. It's really nice to see, to go to neighboring communities and see that in boards. But what a great cohesive board they have.
We're not cohesive.
It's just a really nice cohesive board.
Okay, so no action on item 14. Thank you for the update. Item 15, discussion and possible action. Request from the Romemakers HCE and Friends of the Library for a $100 donation to support a shred event to be held on June 3rd, 2023.
Jeannie Osgood has a brief memo in the packet asking for the $100. Supervisor Minter did include just a briefing about this event. It's going to be June 3rd. It will hopefully be located by the library, probably utilizing the Aspirus Clinic parking lot. So,
Move to approve the request from Romemakers and Friends of the Library for the $100 donation to support the shred event on June 3rd.
Second.
Got a motion by Minter, a second by Giamatti. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hasdell?
Aye.
Okay. Item 16, discussion and possible action. Approval of a temporary Class B retailer's license for the Rome Snow Bandits to sell fermented malt beverages at the Rome Classic Car, Bike, and Snowmobile Show on June 17th, 2023 in the Rome Town Center Park.
standard request applications in the packet, annual event.
Move to approve the temporary Class B permit for the Rome Snow Bandits.
Second.
Motion by Minter, second by Giamatti. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hasdell?
Aye.
Okay. Dates and items for future agenda and meetings. Item 17, next agenda items.
We did have the request from Chad for discussion about Rome water utility. I do have a request from 14 Mile Alliance for a sponsorship. We would also bring back the donation and gift policy update.
I have two. I would request that, based on the administrator's report, that we have an agenda item, that we have a complete report on the construction meeting for the band shell and pavilion with the contractors that she had on February 10th, so we can get a real update and understanding of where we are with that project, so that we understand what the completion date is really going to be.
We already had that 2 meetings ago. I included in the packet
Yep.
the timeline, and
Yes.
that had the completion.
But
the
really
start
to understand what we're talking about as far as when they're gonna really get going on this God bless you.
So the third week of April, April 17th is when they anticipate, unless spring would
Well-
come sooner, to restart.
I understand that. I'd like a full and complete report on how they're going to be proceeding and what sort of ideas we'll have if they're not meeting their deadlines.
So there was a Gantt chart provided
Correct.
Yes.
that shows the construction.
I understand that.
Yes.
If they're not meeting those deadlines, what do we have as a backup plan as to what, how, and what we have as a protection if that band shell is not built this year?
Are you asking about our
Or
construction contracts?
yeah.
With
Yes.
retainage and, I mean,
I'd
that's
like,
part of our contracts.
I'd like a real complete report
Are
on.
we in discussion here, or are we just making
I'm
suggestions
asking-
for agenda?
I'm asking for an agenda.
Trying to understand what's getting
Noted.
asked for, to be honest. with you.
Noted.
Yep.
Am I,
I have.
the second
done
agenda
I
item
think
I
we'll
would.
just provide the information that's been previously provided, plus the contract information. I think that will start the conversation. Okay, are there any other items?
That was uncalled for. The next agenda item I'm asking for is that I tried to watch the Tri-Lakes meeting the other day, and Jamie was unavailable to film that, and I understand she shared with me that she's the only person that's available to film. I'd like to have a discussion regarding who can be cross-trained for filming our meetings, so that meetings are not missed in the future. Have a board discussion as to who can be cross-trained for IT filming of meetings. Thank you.
And we do have someone that's cross-trained, but it's Bob Barheit, and he also was not available for that meeting since he's traveling right now. So,
Is he here during the day when you're not? You didn't share that.
Okay, are there any other items?
There's no other requests. Thank you, Chair.
can I have your-
Chair Goldman.
14 miles.
Carl, do you have any items?
No, put them on as they come along.
Okay. Item 18, next meeting date and time.
Our next meeting date and time will already be April. April 6th, 5 p.m. here. And then just a reminder, April 18th will be the annual meeting. That will be a longer evening, but 4 to 6 will be our listening session for the strategic plan. 6 p.m. will be the town annual meeting, and then we'll likely have our regular board meeting after that, so we wouldn't have a meeting on April 20th. Note, on April 18th, the current board runs the annual meeting. The newly elected board would run the board meeting that would be held after that. So the current board runs the town annual meeting.
And not related to the upcoming town meetings, but next Thursday, I believe, is the candidate forum,
The 23rd.
23rd, at 6, correct?
Jeannie, is that correct? Are we at 6? Thank you. Yeah, that'll be here in this room. We just have better sound quality in here.
Okay. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Okay, motion by Minter, second by Goman to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hasdall?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned, 5:59 PM.
Thank you.